when Michael Jordan called my phone and I answered, and it was Michael Jordan because I didn't know whose number it was.
Yeah.
It was a Charlie Brown moment, like wah 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 wah
Yeah.
wah 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 wah.
Hey, what's up, guys? Clayton Gitz here. Thanks for joining us again for another episode. And I am joined today by male model, realtor, luxury realtor, Kofi Nartey. I'm actually not sure if you're a male model, but you look like one,
I am
Kofi.
not.
So
I
I'm
am
gonna
not a
I'm gonna
male
give it
model.
to you. I'm gonna give it to you. But appreciate you for spending some time with us today. I can't wait to unpack just your story. And specifically, we're going to spend some time on real luxury today because you played such a instrumental role in setting it up and obviously just the growth of that division. So we're going to definitely spend some time there. But thank you again, Kofi, for carving out some time. I know you're a busy man, so appreciate you.
Of course, my pleasure.
So so Kofi, I would love to, because I don't know the whole story, about you. We have met, of course, a handful of times at different events and different functions that we've been to. I've been at Real for just over 2 years, 2 years and a handful of days. How long have you been with Real, by the way?
So approaching 3 years. It'll be 3 years in August.
So you're an OG at this point.
I don't know about OG, but yeah, I've been here for a minute. I'm settled in. The
Yeah,
dust has fully settled.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know much about your story, but I really, I selfishly I want to know more, and I think our viewers want to know more as well. So can you just kind of tell us how you got into real estate, like what you were doing prior to real estate, and how you transitioned into real estate?
Yeah. So how much time do we have?
Yeah. As much
Um,
as you.
so I'll give you the abbreviated version. I won't go too far back, but I played football at Berkeley. I did my undergraduate degree there. Ended up doing an MBA at Pepperdine later in life. But when I finished at Berkeley, I had a shot with the Raiders and the NFL when they were in Oakland. And it was John Gruden's first year, Charles Woodson, Tim Brown, some of those guys, if you follow sports. But I ended up getting hurt my first year, literally in my first game. And so my football career was pretty short, and I ended up coming back to LA. And when I got back to LA, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I got into acting. The quick transition, and I hate to admit it, I did do a little bit of modeling, but I did a
I
lot
knew
more
it,
acting.
Rebecca. I knew it.
I did a lot more acting. So, a lot of commercials and TV shows. First show I ever did was Young and the Restless, through Modern Family in the first season there, and a show called Psych, True Blood. I was killing vampires on HBO, to movies like Kick-Ass and Fast and Furious. And I was having a lot of fun doing that, being able to create characters and live in that space. But I also was starting to build a family. And so I'd met my wife, who was also super dynamic, played in the Women's World Cup, was a PhD, just a super amazing person. And we were planning a family, had a baby, and wanted to add to that. And I couldn't keep traveling really the way I was traveling for the acting career, because I was seeing a lot of amazing parts of the world, but I wanted to be more settled. So I didn't have a plan initially to get into real estate. But as I look at it, and it's sort of a philosophy of mine, none of us are really born to do exactly what we're doing unless you're specifically tall for sports or you have, certain speed, for certain things. But in general, if you can marry your gifts, talents, passions, and interests into a specific career or field, that's when you'll find joy and that's when you'll thrive. And I liked people, I like properties, I like negotiating, I like marketing. And I had a friend, who was in real estate, and I know I like properties as well and architecture. And she said, you might like this. And I was able to deploy all of that into real estate. And that was 2003 when I got started.
Okay, so that was prior to the collapse, right?
Prior to the collapse.
Prior to the
Right.
collapse, things were really good in 2003 when you, because I got in 2005, and
Okay.
this was all in California, Kofi.
All in California. So I started with condos and townhomes as my focus. We owned a townhome at the time. I was HOA president, so I knew that space. And I kind of understood that it was most people's first purchase. You had a lot of first time home buyers, understood dealing with HOAs, adjusting the HOA dues, and built my specialization around that. Fast forward, after I knew what I was doing, I wanted to scale up. And so that's when I started to really look into luxury, but more specifically, sports and entertainment clients.
Okay. Okay. And so, I mean, was that an easy transition for you given your background?
No, I will not say it was easy. I think anything that you're doing that is sort of limited in opportunities, right? Because we think about getting into real estate, very few barriers to entry to getting into real estate. Pretty easy. Take the test, you pass the test, don't pass it, you can take it again, and then you pass it and you're in. But I think that getting into a specific niche that has differentiation in terms of what you need to know, understand, be able to provide for the clients, it requires a bit more work. And so I took the time to, you know, build on what I knew about entertainers and their lifestyles and the ebbs and flows of income, what I knew about athletes and the transient nature of their lives and moving their families, and what I knew about dealing with business managers and wealth managers and talent agents. And I said, all of these things can be done better or specifically for that type of clientele. And so, after building that and building a brand that would support it, I started knocking on doors, not literally, but reaching out to people that I knew, reaching out to people who had those types of clients. And Clayton, it still took almost a year before I got my first client in that space.
Wow. Wow. So can you share a little bit about that experience? So you were obviously networking, you were making phone calls, and so that first client was in the sports and entertainment industry. Can you share who that was?
That first client was a guy named Tony Gonzalez, who played
Yeah.
football for the
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs, legendary tight
Yes.
end. He had a house in Manhattan Beach, and Tony was actually a former teammate of mine at Cal. And so, it seems like, oh, you had an in. I said, well, yeah, kind of, but it still took me a year or two even get that opportunity. So that was
Yeah.
my first entree into a luxury property at a beautiful place that overlooked the beach in Manhattan Beach, had a rooftop deck and a bed on the roof. It was amazing. It was amazing property. And that was it. That was the first swing.
So were you surprised that Tony didn't make it in the NBA?
Not totally. Not totally. He had crazy athleticism.
Yes.
Um,
No
and
doubt.
he was really good at basketball. Like literally every offseason he was playing basketball at Cal, right? So but it wasn't NBA level
Yeah.
basketball, not
Yeah.
quite.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it was what made him a Hall of Fame tight end is what it
Oh,
did.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
so fun to watch. And so,
Yeah.
okay, so you break into the sports and entertainment space. It took you about a year. And now, who were you with? Which company were you with at the time?
So at that point, I was with Keller Williams. So I was running the luxury division for Southern California for Keller Williams, and focused more on luxury than sports and entertainment specifically, but knew that I wanted to position myself for that specific niche within luxury because Southern California is different. I've had now the
Mm.
good fortune of working with agents all over the country, and I've trained agents all over the country and seen luxury markets all over the country. Los Angeles and Southern California has so many luxury pockets, and so many agents who work within luxury that
Mhm.
it's you have to have even a more specific niche, right?
Mm.
And so I think that was part of the learning curve. Was like, okay, I'm going to have to really carve out this space. So from Keller Williams, I was recruited then by the agency, and now they're pretty big, but then they hadn't even formed. I met
Mm.
with the founders of it, Mauricio Umansky, who founded the agency, asked me to go to lunch. We went to lunch, sort of a stealth lunch. He was with Hilton and Highland at the time, which is a really big independent brokerage here, probably number one in luxury sales, and he was their top agent. And he was leaving to start the agency, asked me to come with him and do what I was doing with them. And so when I went there, in that they launched, I joined within a few months. That's where I really defined the sports and entertainment division as something that I wanted to own and the space that I wanted to carve out. And I built that for the agency as well. They no longer have that, but I did build that when I was there.
Okay. And so, how long were you with the agency?
I was with the agency for 4 years. So after 2 years, they also asked me to manage an office. So I was the managing director of the sports and entertainment division. I also managed what was called the Beach Cities office. So I split my time between Beverly Hills and then Venice and Marina, Playa Vista, those areas as well. Um, and it got to a point where there was a bit of a culture shift, within the company. and things didn't really align with where my values and where I needed to be. And so I then got recruited by Robert Refkin, who
Mm.
was building Compass. He flew out to California. I think there were maybe 30 agents in all of California, and asked me to do what I was doing with the agency, with the sports and entertainment division, on a national scale. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I took him up on the offer. He's a very compelling individual, as we know.
Mm.
Whether you've met him or not, you see how he rolls. And so I did. I spent about a year working with the team at Compass to build what became a national sports and entertainment division for Compass.
Okay. And so just quick question. This is more of a curiosity.
Yeah.
Is it to the sports and entertainment space specifically, is it better to be in a market like you're in Southern California? I'm assuming the answer is yes, but I don't know this. Um, do you have to be in a market like you to be successful in the sports and entertainment industry, or can you be in Montana and still have a successful career in the sports and entertainment industry?
It doesn't have to be like this, but the market has to exist within your market. So
Mm.
real
Mm.
quick 30-second business lesson, right? If you've ever heard of a SWOT analysis, now
Mhm.
we have something called product market fit, which Mark Andreessen made popular, but for a long time it's SWOT. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, when you're analyzing an opportunity to build a new business or go into a new market. But really it should be what I call OTSU. So you just change the letters around. You have to have the opportunity first and then see what strengths you have to service it. And I tell that to agents who want to build this part of their business. If there are no sports teams in your
Mm.
market, if there are no films being made and no celebrities in your market, it's going to be hard to build a sports and entertainment practice. Now, some
Mm.
markets have the benefit of being destination markets or secondary markets, and
Mhm.
those have the propensity to attract that level of client or even just affluent clientele. But the opportunity has to exist for your strengths to then make sense.
Now, what about for somebody like you, Kofi, that has the relationships, but you live in Southern California? So I would imagine that you get referrals from time to time from from folks that want to work with you, but they are not in your state. How does that work?
To work with me on their properties in their own states.
Correct.
Yes. So I do have a whole sort of co-marketing program that I run. And it's something to really help agents with either landing or landing and marketing and selling those high-end properties or those luxury properties that are what I describe as bigger than their own market, meaning, the buyer may come from another state, they may come from another country, and they can benefit from not only the experience, but the exposure that I can help bring. So that's the kind of thing. It really started with Michael Jordan's house. Like he was the first huge
Mhm.
co-marketing agreement that
The
I
biggest.
did with a licensed agent in Chicago. And I just flew out. I did a bunch of marketing videos, and really that was the tipping point that took me from building a business to really having some national notoriety and even international notoriety for representing Michael Jordan. Because those videos, before TikTok happened and before Instagram was so popular, those videos that I did for that property became the most viral and most watched real estate videos of all time at that point, with
Mm.
over 12 million views. I was on CBS, I was on TMZ, I was on, multiple news stations nationally. I was interviewed internationally just for the videos that I had done. And
Wow.
so that put me on a national and international map.
So I knew that about you, Kofi, and I share this with people from time to time. My girls know this. I don't get starstruck. I just never have. I personally just think it's kind of annoying. But Michael Jordan, because I idolized him growing up, like I don't
Yes.
know how I would react if I actually ever met him in person, but I would absolutely be annoying. I know I would be. Because he
Well,
was
let me tell you, Clayton, I was not annoying at all, but I'm like you in that I just never got starstruck. I think because I kind of came up after school and going into the acting space and working with people like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker and knowing all the athletes and all the people, the famous people that I had met and knew, I never got starstruck. When Michael Jordan called my phone and I answered, and it was Michael Jordan because I didn't know whose number it was.
yeah.
it was a Charlie Brown moment, like wah 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 wah
Yeah.
wah 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 wah. Like I don't get starstruck either, but I was like, it took me a second to
Yeah.
even understand and process. Like, wait a minute, I looked at the phone, I listened, I looked at the phone. I'm like, this is Michael Jordan on the line. This is
It's
crazy.
just,
So
it's just,
yes, there are some people who will knock you into
yeah.
being starstruck.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So from Compass, and I'm really curious about this question, Kofi. So, how did that transition from Compass to Real happen?
So Compass, continued to grow. I was there during a stretch when they were preparing to go public. And there's a lot of growing pains when you're getting ready to go public. Even when you're a publicly traded company, there's a lot of growing pains. But the adjustments and the changes and the fee structure and the culture all had a pretty stark shift at that point. And even the sports and entertainment division that had been created, that I helped create and was running, it was hard to get the level of support that we needed on a national scale. And so I was approached by another company called Side that was sort of an invisible back end brokerage, and that made sense to me. It felt better, and so I made that move. Same thing kind of happened though. I went there. I built my own brand with them quietly in the background. It was great. But at a certain point, again, you're a business person. We all, as agents and brokers, are business people, whether you have your own brokerage or you are aligned with another brokerage. You are running an independent business, and the math has to make sense. And at a certain point, the math stopped making sense. Those changes happened again, and I was friends with Sharon, as you know, Sharon, and know that as well. And we were just talking as friends. We had been friends for 10 years, and we were just talking as friends about what I was going to do next. I was like, I have to figure out something different. This isn't quite working anymore. He was the president at Real at that point. But you know how Sharon is wired. We had 3 or 4 conversations. I went down to Orange County. We met. We had lunch. We did back of napkin planning, all this stuff. And he never invited me to Real. He never brought it up. And in that third conversation, I said, Sharon, tell me about Real. And he did. And I said, why didn't you tell me about this before? He said, because I wanted you to make a decision on what was best for you. And I was like, this seems to be great. He says, yeah, I think it would be great for you. And it was a no-brainer at that point. The math made sense. The culture made sense. For the first time in my career, I was going to be able to help build, in the organization that I was with and be rewarded for that. Like I recruited 1,000+ agents to Compass. Imagine that in this model, right?
Right.
Where you can be rewarded for being a team player, dedicated and committed to promoting the brand, attracting people to the brand, and building the brand. So I made the move. I made the move to Real in August of now 2023. Yeah, because it'll be 3 years, and no looking back. It's been the best move of my career.
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate that because and we're kind of setting the stage here for this luxury conversation, Kofi, because I don't think that there is anyone better, certainly that I can think of, that could have really spearheaded this division for us. So can you talk to us about how this, and I would imagine, again, I don't know, but I would imagine this was probably an itch that you just you had to scratch here. But how did that luxury conversation start, and what role did you play specifically in helping launch Real Luxury?
So it actually started before I even came on board. I had that conversation with Sharon, and I told him that if I come, I want to help build a luxury division. I think that what I understood about Real and what I knew about the industry was like, this could be a great fit for this kind of model and this culture. And he was like, let's do it. He said, if you are willing to lead the charge, we will support you. And so I came on board. He set up a meeting with Dre Madden, our CMO, and she had the same sentiment. Like, if you're willing to lead the charge, we will support you. We will help you do it. Had the conversation with Tamir as well, and same thing, same energy. Now, I always look at things, and this is just a quick side note, because even when we change brokerages as agents and as brokers, I tell people it has to be a selfish decision. And the final question I always tell agents to ask themselves, at least what worked for me, is what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, what's the worst case scenario?
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience of changing brokerages, I've been in real estate 23 years, but in my experience of changing brokerages, the worst thing that has happened and typically can happen is people promise you things that you don't get. They
Hmm.
promise support that doesn't get
Hmm.
delivered. They
Amen.
promise growth or whatever. And that's a challenge. But the worst thing that can happen in that scenario is you have to fall back on your own ability to do business and sell homes. And as long as there's not a hindrance for that, you can still make things work. Now, I bet on my relationship with Sharon and with, Dre as that was budding and Tamir, and I trusted that they were going to support what we were doing. And Clayton, unlike any other conversation I've had with any other brokerage, it's never wavered, which
Mm.
is it's crazily refreshing. We had Tamir on our luxury mastermind, our North American luxury mastermind just last week. We still have full access to the CEO. We still have full access to the C-suite. I had a call with Dre Madden yesterday on what we're building and how we're growing, and they still are asking, well, how can we support you guys? That is unheard of in the industry. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so much bait and switch, unfortunately, that we kind of get over it and we get numb to it. But it's
Mm.
so refreshing when people stand by their word and really hold up their end of the bargain. And even where it falters, they find ways to improve. So it's
Yeah.
been great.
Yeah, I definitely echo that,
Yeah.
Kofi. And I've never, Keller Williams for 12 years, tons of respect for Gary and what he's built. And
Yeah.
but I've never had a personal relationship with
Right.
Gary. I have a personal relationship with all of these people that you just mentioned, and they're so engaged, and
Hmm.
they feel like they're a part of what we're doing in the field, and obviously they're to
Right.
support us, and it is very refreshing. Okay,
Totally.
so you launch Real Luxury, and we qualified for Real Luxury because I've just got some bad to the bone team members that just crush in
Yeah.
that space, and but I don't, I haven't personally sold a house in several years now. But when I look at the luxury division, and I share this with people often, it really looks like we have our act together. So can you just bullet point specifically, like, what are you most proud of about what we've built so far within Real Luxury? And if you can, talk about what your vision and the rest of the crew that's involved, what the vision for the future of Real Luxury is.
Yes. So first, I totally cannot take full credit. Obviously, I've had experience in building national divisions. I was able to provide some scaffolding and framework for how this could work. But we spent 8 months. And when I say we reached out to agents around the country. We had 7 or so agents who were part of our charter group who helped make the decisions on what this was going to be. We had, I counted at the end, almost 80 Zoom calls. I think it was 77 Zoom calls. We spent hours and hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours, obviously, building what was going to be unique, very specific to Real, capturing the culture of collaboration, but also elevating the standards in the industry for the requirements to create that exclusivity, to create, what was going to be a very unique luxury division. And as a quick side note to that and why that was important, I've been guilty of the problem in our industry. And what I mean by that is I've been a part-time trainer for different luxury institutes and the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. And I've trained literally thousands of agents. And a lot of other brokerages, because I've done this for a lot of brokerages, they put people through a 2-day training with me. And humility aside, Clayton, I'm a good trainer. I'm really good. But 2 days with me does not make you a luxury agent. You have to actually have reps. You have to have deals that you've closed, and you have to have a certain number of deals to even experience different things that come up. And so it really bothered me that other companies claim to have luxury divisions and agents are part of it who sometimes were brand new agents who took a 2-hour course or a 2-day course and now they have luxury agent on their card. That does the whole industry a disservice, let alone the clients that are trusting them with the biggest assets in their lives. But we spent a lot of time building it. And then we looked at it a couple of different ways. How do we empower the agents? How do we empower the agents to then empower their clients? And then how do we provide the resources to help them better buy homes and also sell and position homes on an international basis, whether it's through syndication, sharing, collaboration. But you asked me what's been my favorite part. Easiest question to answer. My favorite part has been our masterminds. They are totally in the spirit of Real. When we don't do silos at Real, right? And so even within the luxury division, we share openly, we share freely. And the amount of information that I've also learned, not only shared, but learned from other division members on how their businesses work, what's working for them, how they're finding clients, how they're supporting clients, how they're marketing properties. It's been tremendous. And I think most of the luxury agents would agree that that's been the best part. And as a 15-second story here, I had to share. We did a mastermind on marketing, and I told people that I have a master marketing list. So every time I take a new listing, I just put it on a spreadsheet. So either I can keep track, or my assistant or my team can keep track of what we're going to do to market that property. And somebody put in the chat on that Zoom, will you share your marketing checklist? And I was like, oh my God, no. And inside I was like, no, definitely not. But here I am, the executive director of the luxury division, preaching collaboration. And I said, you know what? I will. The only caveat is we have to do it on a separate Zoom call. And the price of admission to that Zoom call is each person has to submit their top 20 marketing strategies. We had 1,700 marketing strategies submitted for that Zoom call.
Wow.
We curated it down to 580 something unique ones, because there were a lot of overlap, but 500 and something unique ways to market properties. I was like, this is worth the whole year, 2 years of price to be part of this division. And most of the members just love that.
Yeah, I love that so much, Kofi, because we just recently had an agent from Keller Williams that I used to work with join us at Real, and she qualified for the Keller Williams luxury designation, but she did not qualify. It became a sticking point for her. She did not qualify for Real's, to your point, for Real's luxury designation, because we've raised the bar, and that's how I positioned it, right? And she's here with us now, and she totally understands it. But the thing that and Rebecca, if I forget about this, please remind me. We got to make sure that our team is taking advantage of these, because we have the designation, we have access to all of these masterminds. Were you? Yeah. So this spirit of openness and collaboration, specifically in the luxury space, it's hard enough, I think, for agents that are outside of luxury, but I would imagine it's even harder for, because you're talking about big bucks. And right. I would imagine these luxury agents are, like you said, it's like, I don't know. But because of our culture and which comes from the top down to Mir, and all the and the entire C-suite, we have this incredible environment where we all learn and grow together. And mm-hmm. I appreciate what you just said so much. Okay. So, there's been a lot of, well, let's start here. Is there anything, and then we'll wrap. Is there anything that you are looking forward to specifically that's on the horizon with Real Luxury that you're able to share?
Yes, we've grown over the last year, and we're approaching almost 2 years now of having the luxury division, and I'm looking forward to continuing to grow with the right people. As you know, I take a holistic approach to business. What I do is I tap into what I call my inner beast, and just wrote a book on that. But I think the mindset of our division members and the mindset of collaboration, even you, Clayton, the way that you collaborate with other agents, the number of times that you help somebody co-sponsor, or I also help somebody co-sponsor, or have those conversations with people who are thinking about a career change and are considering Real. I love seeing that growth. I'm looking forward to more collaboration sort of across the lines, if you will. So we have a Real luxury division, but we're looking at more ways to collaborate with non-luxury division members within Real to support their luxury listings. Super excited about that. And I guess I have to ask, can your audience keep a secret? Like, is this a safe space?
I don't know. Well, I guess we're going to find out.
All right, we'll find out. But we are working on adding a sports and entertainment arm to what we're doing. So I'm super excited about that. Obviously I have a whole background in having built that, having been in both spaces. But we have agents who have that as part of their business. We have agents who want to join Real and be part of something along those lines. So we've had a few clandestine meetings. We have one this week, again, following up on how we're going to build that out and provide those resources not only to the agents, but to people who are in the sports and entertainment industries and their real estate needs. So don't say anything yet. Tell your audience we trust you guys not to broadcast this, but to make sure they reach out to us if they have an interest.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And again, just the in the spirit of collaboration, and you've got luxury agents sharing their plate of 580 unique ways to market luxury properties. I can only imagine what's going to come out of 34,000 agents, and all sharing unique ideas about how to really play at a high level in that space. Kofi, if people want to get in touch with you, if they're interested in real, they're interested in specifically in real luxury, maybe even sports and entertainment, how can they get in touch with you?
I would say the best way to reach me is actually through my link tree. And the easiest way to get there is KofiVIP.com. KOFIVIP.com has my email address. It has why I joined Real. It has access to learning about the luxury division, has access to my books, Celebrity, my Celebrity and Luxury Real Estate book, my Inner Beast, my Mindset book. All of it's there, KofiVIP.com, and I'd be happy to connect with you.
That's awesome. We'll make sure we put all that information in the description as well. Kofi, you are a beast. And by the way, he is the guy's jacked, and because he takes care of himself. So all the events I've been to with you, I walk into the gym. I'm like, all right, let's get in. And you're in there all swollen. I'm like, oh man, I got to.
That's no, that we've got, listen, we've got to fight the dad bod. My main thing is no dad bod. That's my rule. That's my goal.
Hey, man, how old are you?
Do I have to say? I hit 50 this year, man.
Did you really? Dude, you look great.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Right? All right. Well, listen, I really, again, appreciate you. I know we got to hop on another call here in just a few minutes. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day, Kofi. And to all of you out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.